Every year, a winner is declared in the global race for human contentment, and lately, that winner is almost always Finland. The headlines deliver this news with the absolute certainty of a football score. It sounds as if a physical, tangible prize has been awarded, perhaps presented to the locals inside a cozy wooden sauna, economic security, and social support. Language naturally compresses information for convenience. We take these distinct, localized socioeconomic variables and squeeze them underneath a single convenient noun: happiness. The surveys are perfectly competent at measuring what they measure, but they haven't found a higher concentration of human joy. They've simply rebranded a population's social and economic stability as a measurable emotion. Once we make that grammatical compression, something strange happens. A fleeting, unpredictable texture of human experience turns into an apparent object. It becomes a property you can acquire, protect, and lose. And from there, it becomes an expectation. We increasingly speak as though this emotional state is something you are inherently owed. You deserve to be happy. If you deserve this state of being, then its absence feels like an injustice. If you aren't experiencing it, someone has failed. Maybe it's your society, maybe it's your employer, but most often you conclude the failure is your own. To fix this failing emotional balance sheet, a sprawling therapeutic industry offers immediate solutions. You are told to optimize your sleep, practice gratitude, write in a journal, and subscribe to meditation apps to correct your psychological debt. The mood has been entirely moralized. By converting a temporary feeling into a mandatory expectation, the very demand that you must be happy creates a powerful new engine for human dissatisfaction. To see how we built this trap, we can map the exact sequence. It starts with raw human experience. People feel things, pleasant ones, painful ones, boring ones, all chaotic and temporary. Next, a grammatical convenience occurs. We take a subset of those desirable experiences and compress them together into a rigid category, an object. Once we agree this object exists, we can begin to measure it. We assign it a metric, and we rank it against other populations. Finally, the measurement completes its promotion. It becomes a telos, an ultimate destination. The metric answers the question of how you ought to live your life. The 18th century philosopher David Hume pointed out a recurring flaw in human logic. We constantly confuse what is with what ought to be. Even if a survey proves that a certain population is reporting high levels of life satisfaction, it doesn't logically follow that maximizing this exact feeling ought to be the principal criterion for evaluating every human life. No measurement can establish that rule. We crossed a philosophical border without declaring our cargo, taking a descriptive survey of local conditions and turning it into a universal instruction manual for human existence. If we look outside our modern framework, older worldviews immediately expose the limitations of this metric. Take the biblical story of Job. By any standard, Job suffers catastrophic losses. His property vanishes, his children die, and his physical health is ruined. If we handed Job a contemporary well-being survey, his scores would bottom out. A modern wellness framework would look at his life and diagnose a severe pathology that requires immediate correction. But Job operates on a completely different evaluative grammar. He judges his life by his fidelity to his faith. In his worldview, a person can experience extraordinary suffering without believing that the organizing commitments of their life have failed. Buddhist traditions attack the metric from another angle entirely, questioning the pursuit itself. Without needing to adopt any specific cosmology, we can observe the practical mechanics of non-attachment. When you experience something pleasant and decide you must secure its continuation, its inevitable disappearance registers as a loss. The very attempt to possess the feeling produces another object you have to anxiously defend. These frameworks operate on entirely different units of evaluation. They demonstrate the question, how do you feel about your life, is only one way to weigh human existence, not an objective final score. Returning to the global rankings and the Finnish saunas, we can now see what the headlines obscure. There is a hidden philosophy inside every index. Measurement produces ontology. Because a quantity can be represented on a spreadsheet, it suddenly acquires reality. And because this artificial quantity appears measurable, institutions and governments begin optimizing their policies to maximize it, rather than addressing the messy, unquantifiable realities of human needs. You cannot drop an arbitrary person from a different century or culture into modern Helsinki and expect the exact same survey results. Human beings are situated. Their available identities, expectations, and definitions of fulfillment are tethered to specific linguistic and cultural roles. The ranking looks like a descriptive, objective mathematical truth, but it hides a massive set of subjective decisions about what a human being actually is and what counts as a successful life. Experiencing joy, satisfaction, or tranquility is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your life. The pathology begins when those experiences are converted into a demand. It is the societal insistence at reality owes us this feeling, forcing us to administer our inner lives as if we are managing a corporate balance sheet. Like Job, you have the option to refuse the questionnaire. You can step outside the therapeutic industry's mandate and reject the premise that your life is broken simply because you aren't currently experiencing bliss. Happiness is merely one possible texture of human experience. It might be desirable, but letting go of the exhausting insistence that it must be the single defining point of your existence might be what sets you free.